ministers, we are equal uh, among those that we are leading. So we are on that level. But because of our calling, because of our vocation, we are sort of set aside. But that does not give us a special privilege, because most of the times when we are in the leadership role, for some people it's like, well, I am in charge here. I am the person in charge here, and this is my church, or yes, it could be your church, but without people, it won't be a church at all, because people can simply say, okay, fine, it is your church, we are leaving, we are going, and then you remain with nothing at all. So as a leader, I think our focus is not to, in terms of leadership, it is not to build the church at all, because there's that thing of, let me build the church. Well, yeah, you can build the four corners of the church, but if there are no people that church, it's not church at all. So church leadership now involves, us actually building or making disciples. I think, to me, that is what is important. Making disciples, because when you are able to make disciples, you have people. We have people with us. Then the church is going to be there. It's like talking about the engine and the car itself, with the engine and with the wheels. You see, you can have the skeleton of the car itself, fantastic, it can be there, but if there are no wheels, it's not going to move at all. If there's no engine, it's not going to start at all. So it is our our responsibility as church leaders to have that vision of making disciples, and because if we are able to make disciples in our leadership role, then we will empower others as well to make disciples, and that way the church is going to continue. So we have, that's where we tend to miss. I don't know, where I've come from, and here we have a challenge. I'm just trying to give an example of how it is here. We have a challenge of people actually coming forward to take up different roles as church members, but we still want them to be part and parcel of what we are doing. Because if you're not careful, you end up doing everything. And at the end of the day, there's no self-care as a leader. And if there's no self-care, you are burnt out. If you are burnt out, then you will not do your ministry. Because if you are not healthy to carry on, then it's very difficult to do. So that's why, we need to know, yes, I am in leadership, but, what is my remit? What am I called to do? What am I called to offer? In this environment, am I there to actually be a jack of all trades, so to say, and a master of none? So there are those questions that we have to ask ourselves, within our role as church leaders, and because on us is is placed many responsibilities. Speaking from a Reformed tradition, it's very interesting. I'm just trying to give an example here. The church to which I belong, it's a very interesting church. We have no hierarchy at all. There's no hierarchy at all in our way. You see, we are ministers, whether someone is a general secretary or whatever, or is a synod moderator. We have got no hierarchy at all. And that's why when it comes to the local church, normally leadership is exercised with the blessings of the church elders. So there are times when as a minister, I'm just giving an example here, I will just go into the church and then sit and then one of the elders will chair the meetings. They'll just chair because we are equals. They'll chair the meeting. But if there's an issue that arises, and then they'll come back to me and say, "Oh, Minister, what is your opinion?" So they'll ask for an opinion, and I'll give out my opinion, as a leader, and then I'll ask, "Are you happy with what I say? Are we together? Are you okay?" And if they say yes, we are, and then that's it. So that's how we find ourselves finding time to actually concentrate on things that matter most in ministry. And one area of church leadership that matters most in ministry is providing what we call pastoral care to our members, because that is our calling, that is our vocation, because we are there as shepherds. So that's a very critical role. Some of these things may come in in our day-to-day business as leaders, but the pastoral care is central to what we do in ministry, speaking from this end of the world, because pastoral care, it simply means addressing the needs of your congregants there and now. You don't have to wait for tomorrow, because if someone is in crisis today, it is today that you have to actually look at what is happening, and ask yourself, what support do I actually provide to this person who is either unwell or is in any form of crisis. So it's the here and now that matters most as a church leader. Yes, there are other things that people actually want to see from you, such as leading worship, such as leading Bible studies. Those are, but those can also be shared among others. And as I said earlier on, crucial here is what it's team ministry, because if that is that becomes the center of our focus, then in our daily work, we'll be able to actually delegate some of the duties, because there are times when we want to just have all the things, but if I have all the things to myself, it means I will not build any leadership team in my given patch. And if I don't build a leadership in my given patch, what if tomorrow I move on? What will happen? What will happen? It means what I've planted today won't be there tomorrow, because no one has been empowered, no one has been equipped to take over or to do the roles that they are able to do. So as a church leader, it's opening up your mind, and being broad in the way you actually look at the life and work of the church. You actually spread your tentacles very, very wide, so that you are able to pinpoint areas of need and say, okay, in these areas, and this is what actually I can do, and these things are my responsibility, but these other things can be done by the members of my church leadership team. So that's in fact that's the way we now grow together as a church, and then if people are able to play their part, then it means they will understand the essence of mission. Because every believer has, they're actually called to play their part in the building of the kingdom of God. No one comes to church to consume, but you find in other churches, that's what is happening. People will come in and simply consume. I'm not saying that's not, it's not good, but yes, but if they do not, if they are not empowered to know that they have a part to play in the church, then they will not know, they will not understand what fellowship is all about. I think that's another area that as church leaders we have to encourage. Is the area of fellowship. We're building a people that can come together, a people that can discuss things together, a people that can descend together, a people that can eat together. So it's those that is the role of a church leader. There are areas in the West whereby what they've done now is to actually have ministries within the church where maybe they've got so many members, but you find that there's a senior pastor, there's an assistant pastor, there's a pastor for the youth, there's a pastor for women, a pastor for and in that way they're simply sharing the leadership, but there is the overall overseer, you see, and because you need someone to actually drive the vehicle, so that if people are out of the way, they're able to be brought back into the system, and that way we can even gauge the strength that we have as a leader. So fellowship is one thing that really tends to miss in some of our churches, like in the West, because people are not empowered to actually understand why do they come to church. Can they be can they meet with others? Can they share the Bible knowledge with others? They think, well, I'm here, I come. It's my own time. I come to it. I come to listen to the pastor. If time is it's over. It's only 1 hour here. Then I'll go and off. And that's the end. And then when they go, again they'll think about Sunday. Now, what is my role now as a church leader here? What do I do with people who sort of have got the habit of only coming, back to church on a Sunday, and that's where now we use our leadership skills, and one thing that I always encourage people here when I'm talking about church leadership is to actually develop intense interpersonal skills. Because when you have good interpersonal skills, it's easy to build rapport and trust, and because it's when you build good relationship with your members, and then trust will come, and then people will be able to actually stand by you and carry on with the work that God has given us. So yes, there are a variety of leadership, leadership styles that we can embark on, but well, the good one that I that from my tradition is whereby I know that I'm here. I know I've got a vocation, but this vocation can be shared with the people that God has given me. I'm also in the learning process, because I don't know I don't know everything at all. I might we it's a two-way process. You listen to what people are saying, people listen to what you are saying, and then there are times when you agree to disagree. Such things happen in leadership, but at the end of the day, we know the purpose why we are there as leaders is to provide a vision that will actually mature and grow and allow the Church of God to carry on in the years to come. I will pause a bit there. If there's anything that you want to ask, then I can. Then then continue a bit again. Anything that you would want me to say or just touch on any question that you might have?
As for me, I think I'm all right. The same.
Yeah. So what it is sort of as I was saying, in church we are actually given the responsibility, specific roles that go by our calling, and then I don't know which area of ministry you belong to, but as I said, leadership actually takes on so many forms, and then as it is exercised in many different ways within church structures. If you look at what we call the mainline churches, they have a hierarchy, and then I know it's from this person to that person, and that person, and that's how they function. And then as I said, in my tradition, we are all ministers, equal in authority and equal in the grace that God has given us, and because we come from that Reformed tradition, we normally value the input that deacons or elders bring with them. To us, they are actually they are of value. They are of value. In some of our traditions, like the that I come from, the elders are actually ordained. It's very interesting. People have asked us why. They tend to ask, why do you ordain? But they are ordained for many reasons. And one of the reasons is to provide pastoral care to the member of the church, and with numbers of ministers in our patch here going down, I think the church now, in the West, it will be in the hands of the laity, and it's coming soon. It is coming, because the Anglicans are complaining. Not many people are going into ministry. The Methodists are complaining. The Baptists are complaining. So I think come 5 years or 10 years, from now, the church will be in the hands of the laity. And that's why, as I said earlier on, if in our leadership positions we don't actually invest in the people that we have, then it means in 5 years, 10 years from now, the churches that we are talking about will no longer exist. They will no longer exist. It's very interesting here, because when we talk about big churches where we come from, here you can find a church of only 10 members, and they're surviving. They are surviving because their elders are there, the 2 members are there, and they carry on. But what is now happening is what is the what we call the clustering of churches. And churches now are being clustered together, and so whether in teams of 5 or 6 or 7, and then and then either it becomes a team ministry with one minister working with the lay leadership, or maybe ministers brought 2 or 3 working together among 12 churches. And if when they form a team ministry here, in terms of leadership, no one is responsible for any of the 10 churches or 12 churches. You are all ministers of those 12 churches, and members here have to look at you as their minister. So they've got no choice. Somewhere they've got no choice. They'll look at the 2 of you or the 3 of you as ministers, and then it's now it now boils down to the minister themselves to know how they're going to use their time, among the 12 churches. And what some are now doing is to identify the gifts that they've got as church leaders. If someone is good at pastoral care, then they will ask and say, could you do that area of ministry? If someone is good at preaching, they'll say, could you do that area of ministry? Okay. So there's that recognition of the gifts that ministers have got, and now they are now encouraged to actually develop the gifts that they have got. So it's becoming common, as I said earlier on, because numbers of ministers are dwindling at a faster rate in the West. So if nothing is, if the lay people are not empowered, and then it means tomorrow there won't be any church. I'm not saying the church is going to die here, but there won't be people to actually lead the church. Or we may go back to what used to happen years ago of having house churches. That might be a scenario that might be coming up. But otherwise, there's I think it's time now that as leaders, we actually invest in the people that God has given us, and that is being encouraged here from time to time. Invest into the people that they've given, that you are given. So we have the role of training. You train those not the theologically based type of training, but just enabling them to know that they can do 1 or 2 things within the church, and then they're allowed to actually practice that. And I think that's the way now we are going, and to me that's the best form of leadership that we can provide as church leaders, is to be there as a visionary leader. You say, this is what I've got, and this is what I think, and what do you think? And try to encourage our members, to carry on with the vision in which they've actually, invested themselves as members of that given, church. Otherwise, the challenge is there, in terms of what is happening in the West when it comes to leadership, because of the cultural setting in our areas here. But we still forge ahead as leaders. We know what we are doing. We are not. We know it's not easy. The number of Christians, the number of people going to church is going down. But we know that we still have a responsibility, as church leaders, to actually lead the people of God in the ways of God, and more importantly, being at level and working together with our people. And the other thing that we are encouraging as church leaders in our patch here, within the church, I think generally is the ecumenical vision, of actually working together. not that we are leaving our churches. It's, where what is common amongst us as Christians, what is common, and I know, I think there's a lot that we have in common, and very few differences. So there is that push among, leadership, teams to actually get involved in ecumenical projects as a way of enhancing what church unity, but it's unity in diversity, not in conformity. It's just, people will actually come together and do things together. And what they are trying to avoid is to reinvent the wheel. So if one church they are doing something, and then with people, yeah. So there's that collaboration in terms of ministry here, among different churches, and then within the same denomination, there's, as I said earlier on, there is what they call the clusters of churches, where people are now sharing resources, financially, or or human resources, or even buildings. So yeah, those are the roles that we are doing as leaders at the moment, and there's less, there's less work that we, from my tradition, we are actually doing less. Not that we're not ministering, but we're doing less. It's not, we are out of the maintenance form of ministry into missionally minded ministry, where we say our role, is to go out and evangelize. So that's what we're trying to encourage. So we'll do our vocation as ministers, but we need the help of the people that surrounding us, and yeah, the support is there despite the challenges. Ministry is not an easy thing, but we are soldiering on, and we hope and trust that in the years to come, the church itself may grow. It will grow. I'm very optimistic that the Church of God will never die. It will never die. So yeah, that's from this side. That's how ministry is. Different from Africa, different from probably from South America. It's in the West. Leadership is there. People do provide, but they have to work together so that the work of God can continue. Yeah. Anyway, if there are no questions, then
sorry, Rev. I think I just want to take you back a little bit on
yes,
the issue of delegation.
yes.
When let's say we're building a leadership team in the church. So
yes.
there's something that just popped in my mind that probably you can shed some light on.
Yes.
Let's say I made the mistake on delegation. I gave a leader a role.
Yeah.
That you are going to be doing this, and later on I realized that the leader is not performing according to the expectation, or probably is dropping in the leadership. What is it? How do I fix that? How do I correct that?
Yeah. Because in most churches, I'll give an example of a tradition here, my own tradition. People that we actually appoint into eldership, for example, they are not appointed permanently at all. They are only appointed for 3 years. Renewable. I'm using the word renewable if people would want them to come back. So if So within the 3 years, if someone has been, I'm not looking at that's long term. But if it is, you give them a responsibility that they're supposed to, to do within a short term. Because there's short term, there is medium term, and there's long term. Yeah. So short term, it's easy to actually monitor what one is doing, because it's only maybe this month, Mr. John would want you to do this, and then because it's short term, it's just within a month, and so they might do their best to actually, and then there's medium term, and then there's long term. Normally, we tend, to say, if I don't invite this person, if I don't talk to this person, they will be against me. But there should be an opportunity whereby, as a leadership team. That's why I'm using a leadership team, as the best, because the delegation that is going to happen at that time because you are in the chair there, but it is something that has come from the leadership team within your church. So when you talk, because there can be that one-to-one discussion, because you are there to see. Yes, you are not a manager, but you have to see that things that because that managerial thing is there in us as well, but different from the way it is done in the corporate world. Because you've given them something to do, then there should be some form of supervision. So if they are not doing, well, and then you invite them, you talk to them on a one-to-one basis. I think that's the best way. One-to-one basis. Mr. Banda, I gave you this. We had agreed as a team that you are going to do this. But now, we said, but nothing is coming up. Nothing is happening. Where are you, with this project? Oh no, yeah, no, I did not have time. But when are you going to have time, Mr. Banda? I'm just, because because we have, we have to, because this thing has to be done. That's what one thing, where you provide that one-to-one supervision. The other way is actually, bringing back, those people that you have been delegated duties, into a leadership team, and that's why meetings are also important. In our area, in my patch, I'm using my example here because we have what we call is an elders meeting every month. Every month we have a meeting, and where we actually look at what we discussed last month, and we take that has been done and that which has not been done. Yeah. So that way it helps us to actually monitor what is happening. So having those meetings, whether it's monthly or bi-monthly, I think it's important, because if you confront that person, outside, they will say, no, I think my pastor is simply after me. But because it was done in the spirit of teamwork, is bring it back to the team, and the team that you're working with will actually help you to actually address that problem, because they were there when that man was being appointed, or when that woman was being appointed. And sometimes as a pastor, you will find yourself doing nothing completely. The members of your team are the people who are going to be on top of that person and change that person. So in a way, you'll be covered. Yeah. But I think the first thing is talk to them on the one-to-one basis. And then if there is no progress, you simply tell them, Mr. Banda, yeah, there'll be a meeting. I think we have discussed this. Probably when we have a meeting, would you please come and exculpate yourself? And then you leave Mr. Banda, in the open air. Yeah. So then the leadership team will say, no, Mr. Banda, I think you have not done what you were supposed to be done. The pastor gave you this role. You have not done it. I think it would, don't you think it would be wise for you just to step down and allow someone to do it? Yeah. So it's if they, yeah, I'm emphasizing on the leadership team because that's the team that will protect you. You know, they'll just cover you, from all, accusation. Because they will say, no, it's the pastor who removed me from this position. Because people are very, people are crooked, But with the leadership team, you're able to actually solve that problem. Do not don't allow it to prolong at all. If you sense that something is not going on, talk to them or call a meeting that will help you to resolve that matter. So that's how, and that's the way we actually, I do things myself. I'm not giving my own example. When we assign an elder to do something, if they don't do it, we ask them, are you willing to do it, or are you okay? And if no, sorry, I didn't have time, then okay, if I carry on. But there's one thing here. There's one thing different, probably from in our churches, when people are given something. This is what I've learned, which is very encouraging. They are actually committed to what you give them, and they'll do it within the given framework. Because there are these meetings, so every time you meet, they will report. So every time you meet, they're going to report. If they've failed to meet the target, they will ring you. Say, oh, minister, you told me to do A, B, C, D. Unfortunately, because of other commitments, I couldn't do. Could I be given extra time? So there's that, respect going on between the minister and the one who has been given that responsibility. But in other churches, again, people just disappear like that. Those are the people that should be called back and challenged, and allow the leadership team to just tell them, you cannot continue. Yes, you cannot. Yeah, not that we don't want it to continue, because we need to move forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Rev. I think I'm answered. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much. Because we're supposed to start at 1 ourselves and finish at 2. So I think there's someone who's taking over from me. Doc, are you around? I think it should be Pastor Mwans, I think, should take over. Thank you very much. I'm just off the screen a bit.